Hello, hello. Just like that, poet. I'm good. We're just live, just like that. Eh? You don't even warm me up. You don't give me coffee. You don't give me tea. I'm sweet. Why yenza so? Why yenza so?
Excuse, man. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. And yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks, man. It's just a crazy day, but
What
it,
what day
it's
isn't? What day isn't in
every
entrepreneurship, huh?
day. Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm alone in this thing, eh?
No, that's all right.
How are you, though?
I'm okay, dude. I'm okay. Like we're currently now at a aquaponics farm out here in Midrand.
Okay.
So just an hour ago, I was at a manufacturing lighting studio.
Yeah.
It's a South African company that's basically making lights for all different kinds of climatic places or
Okay.
horticulture, from your BMW showroom, etc., etc. So it was really
Wow.
interesting. It's actually one of our partners in our company.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
you said not, you seem to be quite on the road, like unlike some of us who are just sitting in one spot.
No,
You spend up.
I,
Yeah.
no, I do a lot of sitting. Hey, so I mean, like, there's certain days that we decide when we're gonna go out. It's like
Mm.
tomorrow, I've got like 5, 6 meetings in Pretoria, in Hanops, all over the place. So it's just basically growing the ecosystem because we can't really do that just from our laptops. We have to go
Yeah,
out there,
definitely.
shake hands, meet people. Get to look at the whites of their eyes.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true, man. Anyway, thanks. I really appreciate you making yourself available. I think when you reached out the first time, that is, before we met and I came to the campus.
Yeah,
I think as soon as you told me what's the subject matter, I was like, yo, this is exciting. It's something
yeah,
that we've got as a BrownSense, but because of resources, capacity, and all that,
yeah,
we just never got to doing it. But partnering and working with someone that is an expert has always been, a critical thing. But before singing in the meat of the matter, can
yeah,
you please,
yeah.
tell us who's Mr.
Sure.
Siboto and where you hail from?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Cool, man. So igama lam nguLinda Mziwe Wonga Siboto. And I know this Siboto thing is a big thing up at Joe's in the KZN. But Nandili Shrubi slash
Yeah,
Xhosa, because my mother's Xhosa. So Usmoto doesn't mean the same thing that it does mean in isiZulu. So I
yeah,
understand that. So I'm very proud of my surname and Usmoto. It's not my nickname. A lot of people think it's my nickname.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's my name. Yeah, I'm 40. What am I now? 41 years old. Father of two. husband to
Wow.
one currently.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm based here now in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Originally, the beginning of the year, we were still in Cape Town. I've been most of my life in Cape Town. So I've got lots of things to share about Cape Town. But you, I, Joe, up at Josie. Hi, guys. It's rock and roll here, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Traumatizing. How do you find the
it's,
switch? How do you find the switch?
what?
Cape Town to Joburg.
It's two different countries, eh? I don't want to lie. It's two different countries. Firstly, everyone's black here. Like that's the first thing that I noted. Everyone
Yeah.
is black, and people ask me, "What do you mean everyone's black?" Everyone's black. Anywhere I go, everyone's black. I go to Santon, everyone's black. I go to what's the other Santon? There's Bryanston, everyone's black. It's like, what do you mean? Everyone's black. Like everywhere in Cape Town, are
Yeah.
there no black people in Cape Town? I'm like, not really. And if we are, we're hidden. We're
Yeah.
hidden from the rest of the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the big difference. But then also, I think in terms of business and commercial wise, this
Yeah.
space at Joburg, I can see why people make it here after leaving Cape Town.
Yeah.
I think because culturally, Cape Town is very much a niche on its own. Everyone's very cliquey. Even other people in the same cultural groups also complain about that. But
Yeah.
here, it's like Dilithlubi. I mean, you and me are like, I mean, for the last the last couple of weeks, you mean like brothers now, just out of a Sunday. But we just met like recently, and we're working towards building things. And I think that's what's missing in Cape Town is that social cohesion, but then on top of that, with the commercial aspect. Because why siyadibana, why siyahlangana is because we
Yeah.
want to build something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in Cape Town, having spent like most of my life that side, I could never find that tribe. There would be one or two people I would find, but most of the time it would be very hard to develop substantial things.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Mm.
find is the biggest difference. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Africa here. It feels like Africa.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
that's
Also.
an interesting take because because sometimes, and I suppose that's how social media is. I've
Mm,
had those that angle in terms of I'm a clique and all that. You
mm,
know,
mm.
definitely not something I've experienced because when I'm in Cape Town, I'm there for a reason,
Yeah.
for a few days, 3, 4 days, whatever, in and out. Never long
Yeah.
enough to experience,
Mm.
what that feels like or looks like.
No, 100.
Whereas you look at the social media scene, especially when
Mm,
they talk about entrepreneurship and all that, it
mm.
looks like, oh, wow, all these cool kids, buying a startup and so on. They're
Yeah.
also they all look wholesome and stuff. Yeah, well,
Mm, mm, mm.
but the experience, and you are confirming something that I've heard a number of times, but you've
Yeah.
also, I think you've taken a step further, in terms
Mm.
of giving a pretty good idea in terms of what that feels like.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to infiltrate. If it's like, I mean, like I've been here now. What is it now? We're in October, so it's like 10 months. I've been here in Joburg, and the conversations, like just the inner circles that I've been allowed to enter, because people here don't see themselves as, I guess, in the sense that, okay, look, I need to do business and I have to speak to
mm,
Ulinda, Maniteta and Ulinda, whether I am Sol Kersner or whoever.
yeah,
I've met quite a few wealthy people I've had conversations with, and I know in Cape Town, I mean, they keep themselves to a certain space, whether it's in Camps Bay or Somerset West, whatever, and it's very
mm,
hard to actually enter those circles unless you have someone bringing you in. In this case,
oh,
it's random. I will call the person up next thing I have a meeting, and that's
yeah,
sort of like the difference that is there. And also, a lot of people in Joburg criticize a lot of black people in Cape Town, saying,
yeah,
"Kutheni nina nizami, kutheni kunzima, solo kunzima." Why? And
yeah,
it's
sure,
because there isn't that energy. And if it is,
yeah,
in Lokshin, at least there's things happening in Lokshin, but some
yeah,
people want to get into town and industrialize what they're doing and
sure,
commercialize it to an extent where it becomes like a brand that everybody knows as a household. That is
yeah,
very difficult. Like if you can make it in Cape Town as a black person, or not even as a black person, as any person in some sort of business, you've done quite a bit for yourself. Up at Jose, I'm not saying it's easy, but at least
mm,
you know where to go to find the people to do the thing that you need to do.
yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome, really, really awesome. So, tell us how then you maybe before we get there, just your
Yeah,
background in terms of the business
yeah.
space. and then how you find yourself getting into the cannabis space.
Right. Yo,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. I'm glad this is a podcast, not a radio interview, because hi, those things are quick. Those 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
essentially, I first started, I guess, with my journey in entrepreneurship when I was about 12 years old. So my cousin, bekehlala elokishini eKhayelitsha yena, Mzianda, if you're watching, what's up, brother? Holla, holla. And
Yeah.
and essentially where I started my entrepreneurship flair was just to step back. I grew up in Scotland, Edinburgh, with my family because most of the people ask me like, were you in exile? I'm like, I would love to have owned that, but no, my father went to study when he was studying to be a doctor.
Sure.
And so we ended up living there from Mthatha in the Eastern Cape. And we came back here to South Africa, and my father wanted to work in Cape Town at the Grooteskier
Yeah.
Hospital. So what happened was is that I had lost a lot of my Xhosa whilst I was there. So then my cousin bekehlala eKhayelitsha and bekethetha isiXhosa pha, and I thought, okay, let me go and hang out with my cousins because we were living in the suburbs. Not enough, not any. Actually, we were the first black people to move in to the suburb that we lived in for the next 30 years. Yeah, so we were the first black people there. And actually, back then, sorry, I'm gonna just little digress, something to scare people. The person that sold the house to my father had to get permission from two of his neighbors if a black person can purchase a house. This was back in 1992. So it
Wow.
was before dispensation and all of that. So that's
Yes.
something no one believes me when I tell them. But yeah, we couldn't just move in. Yeah, what? So then I started hanging out in Kailicha to build up my Xhosa again because I really felt ostracized from my
Yeah.
community because I couldn't speak as Xhosa. And so what I saw was people were taking photos and charging 5 rand for a photo. And I thought, okay, let me do this. So I started doing that. And then every weekend I would come to Elukshin from Friday to Sunday, hang out with my cousin. And then I would take photos of people for like 3 rand instead of 5 rand. And that started getting me pocket money. And then, oh, sorry, I'm on my phone. I just might have lost me for 2 seconds. And then
Yeah.
and then after after a while, I saw people with doing video shoots for church gatherings and so on. And then I had a video camera at home. I brought it to a Lokshin, started doing imibuto, stock fells,
Yeah.
and yeah, from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Abu Mama are there, bayenza uhoy hoy, benza umgalelo. And then I was there with my cousin. We were like
Yeah.
12, 13 years old at the time. So we were like these youngsters with this big camera running around the Lokshin. But back then it wasn't as dangerous as it is now, because now it's quite dangerous. It's not something I would allow my child to go do, let me say that.
Yeah.
But my folks let me do that. And then that progressed into sort of a passion for film and doing documentaries. So after finishing Iskela, I was like, "Tata Ndufunyo, where I want to be the first black DOP in South Africa because there weren't any
Yeah.
back then." And then he's like, "What? You want to shoot weddings all your life?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. I mean, it's this wedding thing's a starting thing, but then
Yeah.
after that, I'll get into films and features and documentaries." What to Tata?
Yeah.
No, go and study business. Don't do this after, but business is a fundamental. And then
Yeah.
business came, and then I just had a bigger vision of starting my own online TV station because this is, I guess, what education does. It makes you expand your mind and want to do more things. And then, long story short, I worked in a few companies, and then eventually I just started doing my own thing. So I joined Indira, Tengiwe, L'Oreal, Nokia, Basha, Nongwato, and we started a company called YPM, which is Youngpreneur Media. So that was a
Okay.
production company focusing on telling stories of
Yeah.
young entrepreneurs. So I was one of the directors and shareholders, and my background was basically focusing on the editing and the filming because we didn't have a massive team to do that. And eventually we got into SABC, DSTV. A lot of our content is still on YouTube now, telling
Yeah.
stories of the Get Smarters, the Yokos. This is before they were big, before they're billionaires. Now they were still like starting out. So we've got all those stories that were there. And then eventually I had to go to South Korea to get married because Labola, had to get foreign
Yeah.
currency.
Your
Yeah, and
wife.
then
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, I like
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to go do that. And then eventually, after all of that, I started working for another company, and then I just can't work for people, unfortunately. I have to do my own thing. And the cannabis thing basically came about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So just a quick background, my mom and my dad both died from cancer. So
Oh,
my
so
mom
yeah.
from breast cancer, and then my dad from prostate cancer. So there
Sure.
was like, I think about 10 years in between their deaths. And in that time, I was researching sort of what other alternative medicines that can be used to cure or at least assist my parents. And cannabis kept on coming up, but I didn't fully understand it because of the stigma that was surrounding it. But it was always in the background. And then when I met my now business partner, he approached me and says we should start a cannabis company. But at the time, we didn't know what it was. And then it evolved into, or it built out into an educational platform that we had online, which is now Cheeba Cannabis Academy. And now we
Sure.
have a campus in Rivonia, which you've come to visit. But
Awesome.
I think I'll stop there and let you ask a question, sort of. But I can
Yeah,
go on, sort of.
that's it's really dope. I think let me just take you back to the I think you said YPM. Is that back when
Yeah.
you reached out? Because remember
Yes.
we've had a meeting before when
Yes.
BrownSense had a market Cape Town.
That's correct.
And
That's
you guys
correct.
you did some shoots there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we did. Hmm.
which one day I hope I will share. You know, we I think I did send you the link
Yes,
where
you did for
yeah,
BrownSense TV. Yeah. Mm.
yeah. Okay, so this is you know I know that I'm probably not the first person to say this, but this needs to be documented, not just as a podcast or video or whatever, but some book somewhere needs to exist.
Okay.
Treasure, ne? I'm not going to say Gutuban. I'm just going to say that some book needs to exist somewhere.
I hear
Actually,
you. I hear you. I hear
do you
you.
have siblings?
Sorry, do I have?
Do you have siblings? Angizwanga ukhuluma ngama-siblings. You mentioned the cousin.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I've got a younger brother of mine,
Oh,
Usandi. He's
oh,
my younger brother. Yeah, but he suffers from bipolar and schizophrenia.
oh, shit.
So he was diagnosed when he was 16, 17.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the funny thing though is that because of this cannabis journey that I'm on,
Mhm.
I've now found out that I mean some of you might know magic mushrooms.
Mhm.
And the medical term, I guess, is called psilocybin. And those magic mushrooms now are what currently are being used to treat
Yeah.
people with post-traumatic stress disorder, with people with a severe depression, and people who have schizophrenia and bipolar. They're actually
Wow.
doing trials now. So in some ways, looking for, I guess, a cure for my mom, because literally the day that my mom died, or a week before my mother passed away from her cancer, I
Mhm.
had found a person who was selling a THC oil. Obviously, we all know it's illicit, but he said he could supply that with me. It was like 2 or 4 thousand rand. I can't remember,
Mhm.
but nonetheless, I was like, look, if this could help my mom, it doesn't matter how much it costs. And
Mhm.
then just a week after that, my mom passed away, and so I just realized that if cancer is something that's in my family, but
Yeah.
through my understanding of cancer, I've learned there's actually a lot of environmental elements that impact your chances of getting cancer. But I mean, we can talk about that later. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, wow. It's always fascinating. There's always these experiences, painful, some
yeah,
of them good or whatever, in our lives that at some point, sorry, they will point to the path. For me, it's a mix of the path that we get to choose, but also the path that chooses us.
100%.
Uh, that's my experience also in terms of the things I've experienced from childhood. That has led to me taking this path. Starting in BrownSense, something that didn't make sense why I was doing maybe something back then, but now it's a skill that I'm using. For the benefit here BrownSense. Yeah, well,
Hmm.
you don't need to tell everybody what you're in.
Is that your editor in the background?
Also, the announcement. Okay, so
All right.
Yeah.
And also, we must commend you, Damzu, for the work that you've done on BrownSense. I mean, I joined BrownSense when you guys had like 10,000 subscribers, back then. And then
Yeah.
seeing where you guys have blown up to this much. And it's a needed thing. I mean, it's something
Yeah.
that's so needed, especially for entrepreneurs within South Africa. Like without
Yeah.
that support base and platform, I mean, it's very difficult to get an inroad into this, to any
Yeah.
industry, in fact.
Yeah. That's true, which is also why I'm really fascinated about this collaboration that we have
Okay.
in the cannabis space, because I think you've heard me tell the story a few times already, Uti,
The cookie.
um, the cooking story, without any understanding or whatever. Because I had heard about edibles before, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
genetic type ones.
yeah,
And they didn't do anything to me. Like I would take one, and
yeah,
I'm like not feeling
yeah,
anything. Let me go
yeah,
for another one.
yeah.
And
Take it.
one. Nothing happened. And then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe resistant somehow. Then I had
Yeah, no. Proper
okay.
proper store. Yeah, no.
Mm,
So that basically goes to the education. The thing is, I guess we're jumping around, but I guess the thing is around. Um, so cannabis is fun. Okay, it's
yeah.
as much as it's a medicine, it's super fun in terms of the way you
Mm,
use it. Whether they call it recreational, but for us, we like to use the term adult usage.
mm-hmm.
Because when you say recreational, things is having a big patsoy here. You're like, yeah, recreational drugs.
Yeah,
No.
so,
It's something that's natural, and it's something that's herbal, and it's something that really helps to cause a little bit of cohesion between people. I mean,
yeah.
I think I mean, I'm not judging anyone that does alcohol, but it's a million times better, and also it's healthier,
Mm,
for your immune system and everything else. And it's just we need to educate people about dosing. For example,
mm,
even the people that manufacture don't really have a proper understanding of this,
yeah.
because of its illicit nature or free market nature, as other people say. And so, if he had at least informed you when he, gave you the cookies or whatever, it's like, listen, this takes 1 hour, before it
Mm,
makes a change, and this is at 20 milligrams, which is for an advanced user, depending on the dosage that you took. Because the
sure.
same way that alcohol has, I hate doing this comparison, but alcohol has an alcohol content or percentage. So
Yeah.
Uma, if I'm going to drink this bottle of vodka straight, something bad is going to happen to me, whether
Mm,
you know it or not, because of
sure.
the labeling that's there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of these infused products don't have labeling and instructions.
Sure.
And people just like, oh, it's a biscuit, and they eat it, And meanwhile, it's
Yeah.
like 100 milligrams. Look, you won't die from it. You'll never die from cannabis, touch wood,
Mm,
because it's what you do afterwards. That's the thing. But no one has
mm,
ever died in the history of mankind from
mm,
cannabis. Like you can't really overdose from it because of the receptors. But I won't get too technical on that. But
yeah.
you should be cautious and moderate in terms of what you consume, and also know who's the person that's doing that. And that's why
Yeah.
also it's important to get educated about these things, especially if you're going to make them part and parcel of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really powerful. So, and on the education side, because
Yeah.
I'm a consumer, I
Mm.
went and I bought something from someone. As you said, they were
Yeah.
supposed to say my information. If they don't tell me
Mm.
who there, and there was none of that in terms of the
Mm.
labeling. So the role that Cheeba is playing, maybe take us through
Right.
that in terms of
Sure.
you know filling that gap in terms of empowering people with that knowledge and that education.
No, for sure. So essentially, Cheeba. Our holding company is Cheeba Africa, and then the academy side is Cheeba Cannabis Academy. And essentially, how we started off was we were an online. We still have online courses for people who want to access credible, ethical, medical, or yeah, even medical training. We basically have a platform for that because of the illicit nature of and the stigma around cannabis. People
Yeah,
haven't really gone to the extent of creating formalized education around it. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube videos that you can watch about growing, people who want to learn how to grow. And I think just to sort of step back in 2018, there was a Concord ruling that occurred. And a lot of people don't understand this ruling, but I'll explain for our viewers to sort of understand. So in 2018, it was decreed by the Constitutional Court that anyone, any adult South African, can grow and consume cannabis for their own personal consumption at home. So in your private space, you can sit there and you can basically grow cannabis, but for your own personal use.
Yeah.
So then the government was given, I think, 2 years to respond, or 18 months to respond to this, because now they have to make that a law now, because that's what governments are supposed to do. And they're about 4 years late now, because now it's 22 now, and we still haven't been given a proper sort of like alignment of what the legislation is. Now, does that mean I can sell cannabis to anyone I want because I can grow it? No. Any product that contains THC, which is the psychoactive component, you need to have a license to sell it, and you wouldn't be able to sell it even locally. You'd have to export it to another country. Those are sort of the parameters around that. So with us as an education brand or education campus, is that we, number one, want to empower people who want to grow at home. So if you're a home grower and you want to learn about growing through a systematic system, through our platform, yes, you can do that. Yes, you can go to YouTube and pick up stuff, but ultimately you're having a stacked learning experience and a journey so that you understand why and what, and also the fundamentals around that. And then secondly, we've got a commercial industry that's at its infancy and it's developing, and people investing loads of money into building their own cannabis facilities. And the challenge is that people assume because it's weed that it should be easy to do, but this is farming, Buffett. It's not different from maize, tomatoes, and all that. And the complexities around it are very quite deep. And you're not having that. Even guys who've been growing for 10 years or whatever, who are seasoned, when they grow at scale, it's a whole different story. So I would say, are the gap in that, because we have assembled subject matter experts who can come in and basically help equip you and also help you build out what you need to do. And also same with your home growing, you can come and do online courses or actual contact courses with us that can allow you to sort of expand your knowledge and also grow your network.
That's cool. So you've touched on a number of key points in terms of me as someone that's interested to get into the space. So I'm still completely new, so I haven't grown anything. The only space I have is my house.
Yeah.
I live on the 4th floor in a building, so I don't have a garden space in my house.
Right.
Where do you suggest I start in terms of my journey into this space? Okay. Yeah.
So firstly, do one of our courses. So we have a Grow 101 course that we have. It's fairly affordable. I think it's 1,200 or 100 Rand. It's all done online, self-study, with 4 or 5 videos that we've produced, which are showing you different growing sort of like environments that you can grow in, from the very high-tech guy who's got like tents, tunnels, and fans, to the guy that's growing elokshin which is known as the backyard grower. Yes, you may be in a high rise, but do you have a balcony?
I've got a balcony, yes.
All right. So there's an opportunity for you to do some pot plants at your balcony, which is totally legal. You know, even though you may think the body corporate might throw you out or whatever, it's within your rights, constitutional rights as a South African. You do the course, you get empowered through the course, and then you can start growing. And then also we will, assist you in terms of finding, our partners, because we've got partners who are part of the full value chain. So if you're needing to get seeds and things like that, then we are able to point you in the right direction for people that can assist you in that. And then if you want to advance your growing, then we've got an actual advanced growers course. So for people who've maybe been growing for maybe 3 or 4 years, and now they just want to get more into it and get a little bit better at what they're doing, then we also have that we can facilitate. It's a contact course. And then the other course that we have, which is just completed now, and I think BrownSense is running a promo for, which is our commercial cultivation course. And this is for people now who want to scale and get into the industrial side of this thing. Because ultimately, end of the day, you have to be growing. You grow for a purpose, you know. Yeah, there we go. There it is, guys. And there's the promo code, 30% off. It's in Cape Town. We're starting with our next cohort. It's a very amazing course, even for people within facilities that are still growing. This is a great entry point for you if you want to get into the business of cannabis.
Sure.
So across the value chain, we really help and support people through, you know, their experience with cannabis.
Yeah, man. So, you mentioned something earlier, excuse me, about the, I think it was around THC and that it
Yeah.
cannot be sold in the country, but
Yeah.
only exported. Does that only apply to THC or any other product that I manufacture? I don't know if manufacture is the right word, but I create out of my cannabis.
Yeah, so we've got CBD. So a lot of people are using CBD oils. You know, those are sold at Discam, Clicks. You know, all pharmaceuticals and so on. So
Yeah.
those are options for people to have, which don't have the psychoactive sort of element that you know, a full what we call a full spectrum sort of plant would have. So those are options that people can have. But the challenge that we also are facing with this is that the products which are on the shelf currently that are allowed to be sold don't have the efficacy that you would have in a full plant extract, and I'm meaning with THC. But you can have CBD, but you need to have it in quite a bit amounts. So we talk about milligrams and the dosing. And so if you want to be very effective in terms of your treatment and making sure that you're looking after yourself and basically balancing your health, you need a large amounts of CBD to actually make a real difference. And I wouldn't say you should use CBD to cure your cancer. That's not going to really happen. But if you are having sort of like you know, certain elements that you want to correct, then having a large amount of, and then the other challenge is that the people that who are behind the desk at these pharmaceutical companies or at these distributors don't necessarily have the knowledge to share with you as to how you must take the product. And the product is really expensive. It's like, you know, a tincture of that, you know, it's like, I'm sure your viewers would know, 400 to 600 rand for a bottle, and you don't know if it actually does anything to you.
Wow. Sure. Look, to me, it sounds like there's a lot of information and compliance requirements and all that in terms of, you know, from the inception, what you call stage, and all that. So if this is something I want to get into as a business, right? So, and like I say, you know, it sounds like there's a lot of levels or layers. You know, that I would need to comply with. I think you mentioned I would need to have a permit, you know, of some sort, and all of that, which tells me that there's a criteria that one would have to tick. So in your catalog of courses as the Cheeba Academy, Cheeba Cannabis Academy, do you cover all of those levels? So Ngiyaqala today, I'm doing it for myself, or I'm doing it as I want to start a for-profit business in this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, not just the actual physical part of it, but also in terms of what compliance or requirements, you know, would I need to meet. Yeah,
no, 100%. So I think one thing important to mention is that besides all our online courses that we also have a contact course at our Rivonian campus, which is a 12-week course, and that takes you right through the full value chain. You know, the full value chain of the cannabis industry. So you're going to learn how to grow, of course. That's part of the thing. We've also have an indoor grow facility and outdoor with our farm partner that we have in Lanseria. So you'll learn all the different areas or ways of growing and why you should grow and how you should grow, especially organically, because we really believe in organic growing. And then you'll learn about the medicinal side of things in terms of cannabis and what it does to your body and how it reacts. And then there's the business element of it. And that we take you through almost like Dragon's Den, but we call it Cannaden. And so the students basically have to present business cases and concepts that they've put together, but obviously they operate within a certain criteria, you know, that we give them and projects, etc. And then we learn about permaculture, Because we believe in wellness, because we believe that cannabis is like a gateway to wellness, sustainability, and so on. So those are the things that we sort of incorporate in our courses, in our course. And so also there's also excursions that we have. And excursions, you go to SAPRA certified farms. These are licensed farms and facilities. And the interesting thing about after you've completed your 12-week course is that you'll do a 4 weeks internship, whether you'll work in that actual farm itself, or you work at a dispensary, or you work at a cannabis club, so that you'll get a full sort of like insights and an in-depth understanding of what this industry is and what exactly you could possibly see yourself doing after you've completed the course. So yes, to answer your question, you will be able to start looking at ways you can commercialize.
Yeah, yeah. And this may be a silly question, but what is, or is there a difference between cannabis and hemp? And what is that?
Yes,
I'm just,
I like
yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes I throw those terms like I'm talking about one thing. I'll use them
Yeah.
interchangeably as if it's the
Sure.
same.
Sure.
You know.
No shame.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You're not alone. So
Yeah.
this hemp thing and cannabis thing, yeah, it's so the there is no real difference. If I say it's an arbitrary thing that's done by humans, it's one plant. So, but the one thing that we define hemp as, we call it industrial cannabis or hemp. So
Okay.
it's not necessarily something that you could yeah, so not to get too technical, but the THC content of a hemp plant has to be under 0.2% within South Africa. So that's the sort of criteria that we've put onto it. So meaning that if you try to smoke hemp or try to use it to get high, you can't, right? And it has industrial uses or purposes. So you can make clothing out of it. You can make BMW uses it to make dashboards. They current dashboards out of it, and Tesla also. So it has industrial applications, but it also can be used for medicine. So that's another thing that's a bit of a tricky thing to explain. But there's CBD oil that can be extracted from hemp, and that's what people can use for that. And then with high THC cannabis, which people are using, that has a psychoactive element to it. So your THC level is way higher than what it would be if it was industrial hemp. So yeah. So that's if that makes sense to you. So it's hemp, low THC, medicinal cannabis, high THC, and then the applications of them being of industrial commercial sense.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. In terms of the size of the opportunity, and I think the more I'm hearing, listening to you talk, my mind is going, all sorts of directions in terms of the potential, benefit. Where are we? I think I'll ask it in two. It's a two-pronged question.
Yeah.
In terms of the size of the opportunity, let's say maybe within the continent, right?
Yeah.
What are we looking at, and where is South Africa in terms of that?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to you.
No, 100%. So if I remember the numbers right, I'm not a numbers person, so I get these things wrong. But in Africa alone, in terms of the potential for the cannabis industry, we're looking at 28 billion. I don't know whether if it's dollars or rands, but it's 28 billion is the number that we're looking in terms of the opportunity. But that was done by Prohibition Partners, who are a think tank who are around cannabis, so that they basically publish a lot of their findings and insights, and they're based in the UK. And so this is what they did. But this was pre-COVID, before we had COVID. And then if you look at it from an international point of view, for example, like in the Americas, if we use them as sort of like a measuring stick to see where the industry can go, they're hitting the numbers in the billions, in terms of their taxation, and then also the product development, and also the employment opportunities that are there. So and America is not the potentially the biggest market. We've got the European market, and that is looking to be quite favorable for South Africa because of our growing condition, and we're already importing and exporting to them on a regular basis. And so the opportunity for it is quite sizable. That's why I guess a lot of people are entering the industry itself, But the challenges that we have in the industry is around legislation, and then also industrialization, and then also knowledge. I mean, if I can just point out, is that a lot of the cannabis that has been developed in South Africa in terms of its genetics comes from Abu Mama Basempondweni, Basa Eastern Cape, Lisigisigi. That's where the richness of our heritage in cannabis comes from. And unfortunately, due to, I guess, commercialization and capitalism, they've been sort of left out in the cold, even though they're the people that have put us as Africa or South Africa in the forefront in the minds of the internationals in terms of the quality of cannabis that's coming out there. So they've been left behind. So when you guys were like Abu Sleiman, buying the Sukapa and Pundunland, and if it was good, you knew it came from there, Transkei. And that's what they say overseas. I mean, if we can just diverge a little bit, there's a genetic, a very famous one that's in California. It's called Girl Scout cookies. 45% of that genetic is Durban poison, but it's an internationally renowned genetic. Everyone loves it. Everybody knows it. It's making a lot of money, but that money doesn't participate back into South Africa, even though it's our strain, that's part of that. These are the things that we were sort of not told about and still not. And that's what the South African populace needs to understand, is that just like maize, just like wheat, wine, grapes, cannabis has the potential to be that commodity that we can export to the rest of the world to enrich our country and industrialize and alleviate poverty and improve health. I mean, the one thing about hemp, industrial cannabis, is that we can create hemp bricks, like I showed you at the campus. You can make hemp bricks. Immediately, you can alleviate, the growing housing shortage that we have in our country. Just by utilizing this, and it's sustainable and environmentally friendly. I mean, it's got all these pluses, but like this deal, I mean, one of the apartheid laws that still is in place is the one that the judiciary uses to criminalize people who want to consume or trade in cannabis. So hemp and cannabis you cannot trade in. That's why, because the judiciary hasn't changed the law or hasn't amended it. And when you're a lawyer, you know these things, so I don't have to explain them to you.
No, I don't know it. I don't know it all. You mentioned Abu Mama. What's the name of the area?
That's Eastern Cape, basically. Yeah.
What do we need to do as a group, to make sure that people like those are not left behind? Firstly, secondly, they get to benefit from what they're doing, because the way and what I'm seeing is this industry will blow up, and a lot of people, like people to be specific, will be left behind. And I think if ever there was a time to get in, this is it right now, in terms of plug in before the train is moving too fast and it leaves you behind. What did you see done, from that perspective, and ensuring that as a group we don't see a repeat of what we've always seen around our things being appropriated, like our food, our songs, and so forth.
For sure. So firstly, government is there to help the people, right? In my understanding, when someone takes up office, they're there to protect my rights, and they're there to help expand my livelihood, and make a better legacy for the children or the youth that will come after us. So with government, what they can really do is, firstly, around the legislation, that needs to be sorted out and corrected so that people can actually trade freely without being arrested and criminalized. Like that needs to be the first sort of port of call. Then after that, your platform, for example, you have over 200,000 people on there. Once products are coming out of the Sikisiki and Pondoland and so on, let your community support those people, support the growers, support the people that are creating products on there, because then that way you increase the economy of that area. Because a lot of these people for decades have been living on the proceeds from cannabis. people who are lawyers today, people who are in business, people working for banks and things. Their parents and their grandparents harvested cannabis to support their livelihoods. And currently, their livelihoods are being decimated now because of the fact that there is no support, and also because no one's thinking about channeling and using their skills and knowledge that they have acquired over the years to help bolster this industry. So I would say there's multiple ways of doing it, but I think there's ways that you need to do it properly, because then the main people that you've left out, you sort of keep in the circle and allow them to expand and grow in what they know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think I'm glad you touched on that in terms of the government's responsibility. Because I think the next thought is, when has government ever done something of itself, unless if it benefits government or whoever that they want to.
Yeah. Hey, Njoyigo ithatha le, because I'm scared. Njoyigo man ithatha ngale yeah, my name is here, people know where, yeah. So we can do it offline. So offline is that.
It was me, it was not really in that. So no, but look and make an example outside of this industry. We in the ICT space, I became an admitted lawyer in 2006, and then worked at this law firm. So I did my articles at a different law firm. It was a one-man law firm. I was everything there. I was a messenger. I was a candidate attorney. I was a bank drafter, like all sorts of things. This guy didn't want to do the made a point to which, I'm not going to practice at this guy's firm. So I secured a place where I would work once I was admitted, which was a commercial law firm. They specialize in media law, ICT, and so forth. And that's when I started getting exposed to Intozabo ICASA and all of that from a regulatory perspective or legal perspective. And that's when I first heard of the term digital migration. And at the time, the then Minister of Communications, I think it was Kasapuri. I think that was her back then. They had, I don't know what they call it, but with an organization called ITU, which is like a United Nations type body, but for the telecoms. I think it stands for International Telecommunications Union, something to that effect. That's when the government, in a certain period or by a certain time, we will have migrated, or done the whole digital migration thing.
Yeah,
that song is still being sung today. This is 2022.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some activity happening, bakhuluma ngama set-top box and all of that. Minister data and those types of things. And my point is that. So I think a way to go would be, and I think this is where certain groups get this thing right. When people are committed towards a certain goal and they put money and resources towards the goal, and then you get experts, and that's their job, right? They know this thing because there's many other laws, apartheid laws, that are still in existence. We don't know them. We don't know all of them.
Yeah.
This is us when we face the branch of the law and they pull out this act and then they smack you with it, because it's only you take it to the Concourse to then challenge its constitutionality. Then the Concourse, that law is unconstitutional, then it goes back to the government to repeal that law. And that would be a way of going about it. It's a long way, but I really believe that if we are going to sit and wait for government, they will only move once it somehow benefits them. You understand? There's always a thing that we don't know, but
100%. I mean, like alone. No, 100%. I mean, alone for the taxation that they can have on this is, whatever deficit that they face every year, it'll be wiped out. You know what I mean? Like if we can just get to the point. But that's something that you and me, can talk
Yeah,
about and debate forever. But it's
definitely.
unfortunately something at
Yeah,
the top, and also getting someone who understands
yeah.
the possibilities that can be realized with cannabis. You need someone at the helm. I mean, they currently have Gareth Stratton, who's been appointed to
Mm.
deal with this rollout or this potential
Okay.
policy change that they need to make. And he comes, I mean, he's not from the cannabis space, but he's from an industry. I mean, with the motor industry, he's the one who helped propel that. So
Okay.
we're very hopeful as a cannabis community that eventually we're going to get to a point where it's very clear as to the commercialize and the industrialization of this industry, and then we as a populace, how do we now interact with the plant and the
Yeah.
guidelines that are going to be put in place. So we are very excited about it, but again, things take time before. But unfortunately, we don't have that luxury of time because all other countries are coming online. I mean, even the African continent, we've got Lesotho, who are the first guys to sort of have commercial licenses and exporting of cannabis. We've got
Mm.
Uganda that's happening. We've got Ghana with their hemp industry that's sort of on the development side of things. So we've got African countries who have seen the opportunity and now are trying to create a streamline that where they know they can beneficiate their communities. But again, they have their own challenges and struggles that they're having. But it will get to a critical mass because the
Yeah.
community and the people on the ground are wanting this thing and they're needing and they know this thing. It's been here for too long for us not to know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about that.
Hey, yeah, man. Mningi umsebenzi.
Yeah, we need,
But no,
but
we're here for
no,
it. Yeah.
Suzanne. And I think also with our collaboration, Cheeba Africa, with BrownSense, we're going to help to start mobilizing the communities towards understanding how they can get involved, what are the ways, and then who are the people in the network that matter that can help bolster what we're trying to do here. So I don't know if you want to let them know about sort of like our collaboration and then also in terms of our events that we're going to be hosting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also a good way to wrap it up. You
For
know,
sure.
that we do
Part
encourage.
one to be continued.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think some of the members have seen my posts that I put out. I think we've sent newsletters.
Yeah.
So basically, we've partnered with the Cheeba Cannabis Academy. With regards to the work that Cheeba does. From the training aspect, but I think from this conversation alone, you can see the size of the opportunity. You can't really contain it, or it's big. It's too big to be, put into one thing and say this is where it fits and say parallel. Because there's also lots of room for, policy influence. Lobbying the powers that be. Doing some kind of research work, where the information needs to be out there and to be known, but also digestible. Because I think one of the things that I've seen, to be a potential deterrent to some people is if something seems complicated, you know,
Yeah.
uh, people just don't want to get into that, and that's also
Yeah.
how some of us are kept out, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spike Lee some years ago, I think he did a documentary called either a documentary or it was an article, I don't remember, but it was called demystifying the film industry, something to that
Okay.
effect. But the whole intention was about this thing has been made to seem unattainable or too complex,
Mm.
to keep certain people out of it, but you can do it, and you've actually been doing it,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
growing up, you've known a lot of kids that were great storytellers,
Yeah.
uh, great comedians, in a punchline, no one taught him and those types of things,
Yeah.
but back to this in terms of the work that we can do. And I sent you a WhatsApp last night, Uguchi.
Mhm.
Do you see a space also where we can take this and make it reach the younger generation,
Yeah.
our kids, I'm thinking my 6-year-old, 5-year-old, in terms of the information that can, in a way that they can understand, and I think that's basically it. So in terms of my events, by way of announcement, we will be posting about my events that we'll be having, starting the first live being on the 6th of November.
Yeah, that's right.
I got the date wrong the other day. I'm confused on the cherries.
Yeah, that's correct.
6th of November, basically the first Sunday in November. That's the day. At the academy or at the campus. This is not going to be a virtual session. It will be a good opportunity for you to come and see the space also and to see the work that Cheeba is doing. Because when I was there myself, I was like, hey, maybe I must just find a table and a chair and really Wi-Fi password and just sit here.
For sure.
Aroma alone, I was like, yo, okay, this is too nice,
Yeah.
and then there'll be a lot more to come, in terms of these types of events. We are talking about doing a film screening next. I think you said next year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Thing. I'm encouraging everyone, to take part in this. On today's Wednesday. On
and I think Friday we'll be announcing probably Monday will be the marketing.
Yeah. No. On Monday, I put up a post about an opportunity in Newcastle. In the group on Facebook, and there's also an article on our e-commerce platform. Let me share the link here.
Okay.
Where we talk about this. So basically, I'm just going to touch on a summarized version of this opportunity. There's a black farm where they grow hemp in Newcastle, and they are looking for people that will invest in 2 hectares per group. It can be per individual. If people can meet that requirement. And this would be a good way if you've been thinking about getting into the space, the hemp industry. So the article or the post is entitled "Black Industrialization of Hemp Industry."
Oh, my subject email, my email subject.
So I'm not gonna steal credit.
Fine, I give it to you.
So the link is scrolling soon across the screen, and then I'm gonna add it as a comment as well, so that people can click on this as well. But otherwise, my recommendation is that do look out for these types of announcements. They are easy to miss, because it's not something as, hey guys, there's a market. This is like kind of low key, but the opportunity is huge and life changing. That's all from my side. To be honest, I think my encouragement to you guys is keep your eyes on the ground. We do have a link in the group, which let me edit here as well. So what we do in the group, because Facebook and its algorithm, some people don't see everything that we put out, man. Which is why you'll find that we keep on putting stuff, like some of it almost every day, different times. Then maybe someone will be like, "Hey, these people they're spamming us or whatever." Where is this link now? Here. So basically, this is a Google form link that we use to encourage people to complete. It's basically a list where you can add your details. From now and then, we send them a newsletter or an email, where we announce certain things. So this is a guaranteed way. Now I can't see it, but it's also because I'm talking while I'm looking for it at the same time. But basically, it's just to encourage you to sign up and say, look, you might miss it in the group, but please make sure that you sign up so that it's in your inbox. Okay, I don't see it. I will post it anyway after the stream. Then you guys will see the comment section. Then in that way, there's a guaranteed way that you will get the information or any key announcements that we make. So that's All from me. Thank you, Mr. Sibo.
Awesome. No, thank you, that I
Remind
appreciate.
me of your middle name again. Mziwo Wonga.
Yeah, that's correct. Mziwe Wong. Yeah,
Mziwo. What does
it's
it
a
mean?
spare our pride.
Our pride. Powerful.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's an old school name. Old school name.
Yeah.
No one has his name except for me.
Yabona nami I need to learn isiXhosa because mina Xhosa waseSoweto, so you are with,
Ne?
so I'll pick
Hayi,
you.
kodwa i-grand imotsha, i-blind. Yeah.
Sure. No,
Ciao,
thanks.
Dad.
Ne?
Cool, man. Sharp.
Cool, man.
See you soon.
Sharp, sharp.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us on a Thursday afternoon. As I have promised, I will share the link. I normally let the stream to run for about 2-3 minutes after we've done the interview. I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. With Derek U. Ndim. I'm gonna ask him about that surname because it sounds closer, but it's not closer. Anyway, guys, enjoy your day, and thank you for joining us. Bye.